I was originally born in Florida. I moved down to Texas. My dad mostly wanted to build a camp for our 7 Days Adventist type group and whatnot. And so when that went south, we just lived our lives basically. Yeah, I mean, the dream is still alive, but it's what it is, you know.
So where does the French part come in? What's
both of my parents are actually from Haiti. Yeah, my mom came when she was young. My dad came when they were young. Didn't meet each other until they got into Florida. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't speak Creole. Wish I did. I'm second generation. I told my parents, you know, teach me, talk to me on a regular basis like that. And they were like, I was like, okay, all right. Never done it, so that's what it is.
Wow. But how? I mean, I'm sure you still have some kind of hint of the Haitian culture, even if it's just like the food. Or
yeah, definitely. I mean, I can understand some of it. It's pretty neat. The food is actually pretty awesome. My favorite dish actually is bouillon. It's like a soup with like what they call dumplings. Basically, what you do is you get flour, you do that, and it doesn't look like Chinese dumplings. It looks like a little turd, to be honest, like a good white turd, and you bloop, put it in there with vegetables, oil, all that kinds of stuff, potatoes. It's deliciousness.
Have you actually been over to Haiti?
No, not yet. I'm planning on going there soon.
Cool. So, tell me a little bit about like that. So, you're Haitian American.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, do you feel a disconnect as far as do you maybe feel not as connected to your Haitian side because you haven't been over there or stuff like that? Or do you feel maybe you're not full Haitian? Like, how does that...
There is definitely a little bit of a disconnect between our cultures. Of course, like I know my family or whatever. The language is really what defines a culture to me. So besides that fact, you know, I know it, I can understand it a little bit. I can't speak it, unfortunately. So, I mean, it gives that a little bit of a disconnect. But as far as American to a Haitian American culture, it's not quite different for the simple fact that we're treated the same. Like, they see black, that's all they see, you know. And it's a little tragic to think of that, but yeah, and it's kind of funny because my dad was always telling me how Haiti got its independence. They were like one of the first. They started killing the French. They started chopping up a powder from like a fish, I forgot what it's called, and God, did they start falling dead, you know. So it's
as that's actually very powerful. And I was thinking about that, how the Haitian Revolution and stuff kind of. It was actually it predated the Nat Turners and stuff like that, and kind of even, I guess, gave them a blueprint or
definitely
kind of was motivation behind some of those overturnings or even rebellions here in the States.
Yeah, definitely.
Coming from such a powerful history as far as
Yeah.
Haiti being Haitian, how do you feel as far as nowadays? You're right. All they see is black.
Yeah, all they see is black.
How do you kind of internalize that, or what do you think about that? As far as you came from a people that weren't taking that. You know,
definitely.
And now you live here and you're basically just discriminating against just the same.
Basically, well, the thing is, like, whenever I was in school, like, I went to a predominantly white school, then I went to a predominantly black school, then I went to a mixed school. The predominantly white school, that's where I first started. Like, that's the only thing I first remember, because before that, I was homeschooled, and then I went to private school, homeschooled again, flip-flop between those two. So whenever I went to public school, at a white school, like, I didn't really see difference, you know. I saw they were people just like me, I'm people just like them. The only difference is, you know, they haven't been in the sun too long and they need to bake a little more. But besides that, it's just like, you can see, and it's funny how it's not the children, it's not the youth that see that belittleness, it's the adults that see that belittleness. And I remember hearing a powerful poem recently that she was saying, it's called by Poetic Movement. She was like, if, you know, no wonder we're in 14th place, you know, if the people who are in charge of starting the race started late, no wonder why we can't get to the first base. And it's like, dang, like, you really go through that type of thing, and then you realize that we are taught prejudice, we are taught racism, and to me, I think prejudice is something that we need. Prejudice, we have to have pride. We have to believe that this is what we are, and we have to be like, yo, no, forget about you. Like, I care about me more than I care about you. That's what it is. Especially my people. If you look like me, I look like you. What can we not do together? You know.
I feel that. Did you ever experience stuff to where that kind of mindset came from? Like, what made you start thinking that way, or what made you?
My dad was the kind of person to inspire and be like, yo, you could do anything you want. You could rule the world, like, be great. Although as the oldest child, I was always like separated from the group. You know, it gave me a perspective of, you know, the world is not pampering. The world doesn't give you things. The world doesn't do that. And especially when I was in school, my mentality is, I prove you wrong, because one of my teachers, it was actually two teachers, in fact. I don't remember their names specifically, but it was my algebra teacher, and it was my, I guess, human rights teacher, especially. She was in the 8th grade. We had the test, you know, the test to be able to figure out what you're going to do in your life, blase, blase. So, so I'm taking the test, you know. At the time, I wanted to be a marine biologist. That dude that says, Croy, give me all. Yo, that's a big one. Got me inspired to do that. My favorite cartoons were Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, like PBS Kids. Like that was my cartoon, that was my adventure. And so whenever I would go, you know, I would sit there, I would be like, you know, I want to study animals, especially in the water. I like water. I like to get wet. I like to swim. Even though I'm short, I might drown, but that's not the point. The point is well, we're taking the test or whatnot, you know, and I'm good with my hands. And it comes up, there's like mechanical engineering, blase, blase, you know, woodwork, and it goes down. And there's marine biologists on there. Yeah, definitely. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, she's like, I'm like, yo, I got this and this. And I was like, I don't want to be a marine biologist. She's like, you don't look like a marine biologist. I was like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I could be one of these things. She was like, yeah, you could. I mean, you don't really look like that. I was like, You know, it's a little confusing especially when a teacher is like low-key belittling you, and you don't realize that until later on in life when you look back and you realize the discrimination in such a subliminal manner. And so after that, it was just like, I'm out to prove you wrong. I'm going to be what I want to be, when I want to be it, how I want to be it. Of course, I changed my major because, you know, I changed my mindset because I got into making swords. I like anime and whatnot. And so I started, when I was little, I started hammering swords together. I started making bow and arrows. I started making other stuff. I started taking apart toys and putting it back together in creative ways. Great stuff. And so I was like, you know what? I want to become a mechanical engineer and computer scientist, you know. That's what I want to be. And so, you know, that mindset, whenever I started approaching those teachers, it was great. And then whenever I got into high school, you know, what happened was there was an AP program, a pre-AP program. So I went to the pre-AP program, went to Algebra 1 at 8th grade. Around the same time that teacher had told me that, you know, it might be. Just finished. I had passed with a 70. Unfortunately, it was hard, and I'm a little slow on the uptake, and I realized that. I'm not even going to lie. But I had passed, made it to the next grade. Made it to 9th grade. I'm in AP Algebra 2. I'm feeling good, you know. First few weeks, it was great, you know. She's up there writing, you know, she's writing fast. And when she teaches as if, like, oh, you can get it at the speed of light. So she'll write down the algebra problem. She'll be like, oh, yeah, this is the algebra problem. Yes, you do it this way, this way, this way. This is the function, blase, blase, boop. And that's one problem. And then she gives you a whole sheet. Figure it out yourself. That's basically what happened. And so I remember that my grades started slipping later on, 3rd week, you know, 4th week, 5th week. 6th week is when it really started slipping. It started getting to like a 60. And so I talked to her. I was like, yo, I'm really I'm really trying to get better in your class, you know, and I understand that, you know, my grades are slipping, but I really want to try. I really want to be better and, you know, really do the work, you know. And she's like, you know, you should probably just get out of the class. You should probably just leave, you know, and go to a lower ed class. And I was like, I understand that, you know, I might take your advice, but at the moment I really want to sit there and try and actually work hard to be able to do this because I know I can do it. It's just I'm slow, you know, I'm a little, no, I didn't say I was slow. I was like, I know I can do it. It's just like it's hard right now, you know? And then so while the conversation goes on, she's sitting there talking to me and she's like, yeah, you really just need to move out of the class. You need to get out of the class. And I'm like, why do you think that I should move out of the class like that? And she was just like, well, you're just slow, and then stopped in the middle of the sentence that she was gonna say. And I was like, I'm what? And she was like, nothing. Just I'll fill out the form, blase to get you out the class. I was like, okay, you know.
Do you think she'd be comfortable telling that to calling another student, quote unquote, slow if they weren't of color? More willing to help a student?
I wouldn't know because all I know is that was done to me. And at that time, for me, it wasn't a discrimination thing. It was you treated me like I was crap. You didn't see the effort to put in for me. So therefore, why should I give you something, you know? And so, of course, a colleague of mine, or not a colleague, but a student, a fellow student was there. He also had gotten out of the class, but he was failing. He was like, you know, I chose to get out of the class. And he was white, you know. There was very few people there that were of color. In fact, there was 4, literally 4 black people there out of the 600 students, less than that. And so it was really just like, dang, you really did that. And it was funny because when I went into the regular class of algebra, I was excelling. The teachers was like, why are you here? What are you doing in this class? I'm finishing work like that. And I'm like, yo, do you have anything else to do? And she's just like, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? I was like, I already know this stuff. They already taught it in what do you call it? He was like, okay, like, I don't understand, you know? And it's just like, man, like you don't believe in me. When you don't believe in somebody, when you don't believe in children especially, I understand that. When you don't believe into them, they choose to fail, you know, because they don't have that maturity to prove you wrong. Because it's like, why should I give you something if you're not giving me? It's a give and take. You know, when parents sit there and love their children, they love them back. When they hate their children, they hate them back. It's the circle of life until we get old enough to realize, you know what, F you and what you stand for, you know. I'm doing it on my own.
I definitely hear that. Yeah. And that's, you're right about the maturity part. Like, you tend to shut down, you know, as a child when you don't see somebody rooting for you or kind of affirming you or showing you that you can do it. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely feel where that's coming from. So you had white friends.
Yeah, definitely.
At the school. How can you tell me an instance or like a story or situation when you realized that, for lack of a better term or better phrasing, you and your white friend weren't on the same level? If that makes sense.
I can understand that. I really didn't understand like I didn't really understand like the power struggle in school or whatever. Basically they knew I was different. And so, I mean, they treated, oh yeah, you're the cute one, you feel me? Like, you know, it was like privilege, kind of. At the same time, it was just like, you're, you know, like it was you were treated better than everybody else because you're a guy, you know. Guys used to get jealous of me because I had all the girls and whatnot. So it wasn't really a bad thing.
So it was more of a benefit.
Something like that.
So I guess now what I'm asking, when did you realize in your life now that people of color or you in a personal way weren't on the same level as a white person? When did you realize that
I actually realized that later, like way later. It was when I was in college, actually, to be honest, because no. Yes, it was when I was in college, actually. I remember, I was working at Sonic, and so while I was working at Sonic, I was chilling, and I had just quit my job at McDonald's to go to Sonic to get a better pay, and so I'm sitting there chilling, doing my work, running back and forth, starting the stuff, getting the stuff, and I remember there was this old guy, got into the car, and he was like, "Oh, I want this." In fact, the meal was he wanted a hash brown, or he wanted some tater tots and something else, and it's in a cup of water, something like that. And so I gave him a cup of water, rang it up, and was like, it's like 6:41. And so he comes over there, and he's like, I was like, "Here you go. Here's your drink. Here's your, what do you call it, being kind and whatnot." And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, okay. So how much was this?" I was like, "Here's the price. Blase, it's 6:41." He's like, "What is this? Why is the price?" I'm like, "Sir, I don't do the price. I ring it up and I give it to you. It's if you have problems, you can go to the manager for that, because it's not me." And he was just like, "Oh, you're always trying to fucking take things from us, you motherfuckers." And then backed up, and as he was pressing the gas to leave, he's like, "You nigger." And my mind, I'm like, "Yo, don't come around here with that bullshit. Like, get the fuck out of here and what you got going for you, And of course, all of the other people there didn't exactly hear what it was, but it hurt. It hurt a lot, because to think that you would, and what hurt me worse was the fact that you're going to sit here and you're going to drive off. You're not going to stand up for yourself as a man to say it to my face. I don't care how old you are. You deal with the consequences. You burn your hand if you're a baby, you're going to get hurt. And it hurt to me because, like, you can't sit here and stand up as a man to say that. A, and B, it hurt because to say it with such contempt, to say it with such anger and frustration and belittleness, like, that's when I realized, I was like, wow, we are really being discriminated, being belittled in the subliminal sense, and that hurt to bring it out to the consciousness,
Before that, or even now,
Mm-hmm.
do you think, because from what I'm seeing, you maybe ran into a little here, a little there,
Yeah.
but per se, racism hasn't been too present. Is racism real to you, or quote unquote a big deal?
Racism to me, the way I thought throughout my life, whether I saw it or not, like, because sometimes I'm oblivious to it, it's the fact that I think that you're a person no matter what color you are. I don't. It's not, and it's not to be cliche or whatever, but it's like I don't see color. I see you're different, but I don't see you as a color, because we're all brown. We're just a lighter skin, darker skin. Like, you're like, for example, Obama and Logic, they're both mixed. Just one came out lighter, And so to me, it was just like, you're there. You work hard for what you did, And my mom always told me, she was like, "Black people gotta work hard, 3 times, 4 times harder." And I told her, I was like, "No, Mom, we gotta work hard. No matter who you are, how you live, how you are, you work hard for what you got. The 3 times harder is to show that you don't have anything in your past to bring up, to make sure that you don't do any wrong while you're there. That's the 3 times, 4 times harder, quote unquote." And it's like, and throughout my life, my mentality was like, I'm the same as you, I bleed the same as you, and I'm going to work just as hard as you. And so whether I was belittled, I never really saw it, because I always thought you were treating me the same as everybody else.
Right. So in that way, I guess, and seeing how you view things, or how your life has been, compared to how your ancestors and even ancestors here in America, for us, African Americans, what do you think or feel that racism or the race war, for lack of a better term, has progressed? Is it getting better? Like, will it eventually disappear?
I would say one day it will disappear, but for now it's it's more than just race. It's economics. It's power, you know. And somebody once told me that the worst enemy is yourself. The worst enemy is us. People who look like us are our worst enemy. And it's not the fact that they choose to be, it's that we were built that way. We were trained that way. And I remember hearing this theory in one of my psychology classes when I moved to Houston, that people through people who have suffered extra traumatic experiences get that passed down through generations and generations. And ours is slavery. The Holocaust is for the Jews. We had our own, you know, and that's been passed down for generations and generations. That slave mentality is not there, but it's there. And it's like, and especially in economics, I was poor. In technicality, I was poor. I moved from home to home. I moved from trailer park to trailer park. Most of my life, I lived with someone else. Most of my life, I lived, and as much as my dad would like to say, like, yeah, we were independent. We did what we did. You know, we really just moved from place to place. I remember my house, two houses that my dad bought, they got foreclosed on. I lived in apartments. I lived in trailer parks. I lived in all those things. I remember whenever I moved to Houston, I lived in a motel. And with the motel, it was a different, at the motel, there was like a lot of smokers and whatnot. And then we moved to a different motel, which was darker. And 90% of the stuff that we had at the house that was foreclosed in Houston, just, you know, we had to put it in storage, and then that got lost whenever we sold it. And so and it's the struggle, you know, and it's economically speaking, because like my dad looked for a job. My dad has to sit here and work like hours a day that would kill somebody, that robots need to be able to work to be able to gain there. And it's not just me, it's a whole bunch of black people. We have thousands of people who live in the ghetto. We have whole communities that live in ghettos, that live in places that they really shouldn't be in. And it's not the environment wants to be bad, it has no choice. You steal because you need. You don't steal because you want to steal. Like there's no really need for it if you have, you know. And so it's that kind of, you know, there. And it's like, and power too, like power corrupts people. And power has that drive to be able to put you in a lower class. That 1, 2, 3, that categorization puts us in a perspective. If you're third place, you suck. Why are you here? Like you shouldn't have made it, you know. 4, 5, 6, that's the thing that we have. And especially when I went to college, I saw that people, we really didn't boost each other. All we did was pull each other down. I remember this guy stole from a friend of mine for no reason. Like he had no reason to steal. It's just that he saw he was doing great in his life and was like, you know what, let me take his stuff, instead of asking him, yo, how did you do that so that I can do that, you know? Instead of sitting there striving for information, we sit here and strive on the material things, and we sit there. And I'm not saying music is a powerful thing, you know. Music is something that we use in our everyday life, but use it in the wrong way, and I guarantee you it's gonna be bad. It's like Excalibur in the wrong hands. You know, music, the music nowadays, most of the time, it's always about materialistic. See my chain, see the money that I'm flaunting, when you know you don't have money. You know, and people strive for that. And it's that nobody strives for information. They strive for money, you know.
Yeah, that's real. And so now speaking of information, I just want to go back to something, because this is something I personally want to know.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know you were mixed, Haitian American, so to say. So, I just want to know, as far as experiences you've been through, or if you can just shine some light on it.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about being Haitian American in America.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Basically, you looked at it as black.
Yeah.
And we know how that goes. Mm-hmm. But on the Haitian side, how does Haitians look at you as living in America and not knowing how to speak Haiti?
Yeah,
that
is very interesting. I remember I went to a family reunion, and me, my brother, and my sister, we were kind of on the outskirts, because we hear the other language and we can understand a little bit of it, but it's like we can't connect because of that language barrier and because we really don't know the culture like that. And especially since we're vegan, it kind of makes it hard because like we ate scraps. Our culture ate scraps, and whenever we finally got the good stuff, in fact, there's a soup that we usually do every year. It's like with pumpkin and with all the foods that we couldn't eat, and it's stirred up into a stew. Pumpkin stew. That's it. Pumpkin soup. That's part of our culture. We eat that every year, or we try to at least, because that was the symbol of the privilege that we couldn't have. And even though we know a little bit of it, we were never really able to connect because we weren't really taught the culture because of our economic status. So it's like, oh, yeah, you're Haitian by default, by association, So it's really hard.
Has there ever been a situation, or can you describe one situation where a quote-unquote pure Haitian has discriminated against you?
No, absolutely not. Most of my cases, especially with Haitian, are with family. So, all my encounters were all with love and care and kindness. I've got cousins I don't even know about. And I got uncles I don't even know about, aunts I don't even know about. They love us still the same. And I feel like in my culture, in the culture that I'm supposed to know, Haitian culture, they're more loving, they're more connecting. I see that in Hispanic cultures too. Dominican Republic is right there. Hispanic cultures too, that people talk to each other. They communicate with each other. They actually have conversations about their lives. They don't sit on the buses and just sit there. So it is more with love and care. It's not really discrimination that I see there.
Cool. That's very good. I mean, that's fortunate. I'm so glad that at least that side can embrace you, and what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Before we end, is there anything you'd actually like to tell people listening or like to say?
I mean, no, it's just been a wonderful experience. I've actually got to interview people who I've never heard of, and I'm still growing. I'm still learning, and there's knowledge is something that you can never fully achieve. It's always there. And so, it's just something that you got to keep growing in. And I've heard stories that answer questions that I needed, and I still got more questions from those answers. So, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
My last question.
Yeah.
Dan, is it easy being black in America?
No.
Why?
Because they don't recognize you with the value that you are. We're worth billions, trillions. This color, worth more than our imagination could even aspire to think of. The light posts out there, the flashlights, the air conditioning, we made those. We made that American flag, we sewed that. We did that. And I always like to put it like this. We are the mortar to the white bricks. We held things together. One day we're going to be a foundation. One day we'll be those bricks, and we'll be the mortar. But for now, it's hard. Like, one day I'm going to be a dad. I'm soon, and I'm still trying to look for a job, and I can't find a job, especially at the place I'm at, Wiley College in Marshall, Texas. It's not easy. I went to Walmart, Kroger's, all those places. It's hard, and they don't recognize you with the value that you are. And once they do that, that's when it is. It's not easy being black. It's not easy. It's not easy being us, because black is not the term.